happening. I knew it was happening. And then last minute, I decided, right, I've got to go to Newcastle. England had a World Cup at the end of the season. That next season, I thought I've got to be playing first-team football. So I decided it was almost me pushing it to the deadline.
Really?
in that sense, because I was trying to hold Real Madrid to ransom away by saying, no, if I go back to England, I'm only going to Liverpool. So that was the situation there. But I also went to Stoke on the last day of the season. That was a bit more of a deadline day deal, because I was sat waiting in a service station on the M6 motorway waiting for the go-ahead before I drove for my medical.
Why do they leave it so late?
It's brinkmanship, it's negotiation, it's all these kind of things. And that's why we see so many deals done on the final day, which is what makes tonight so exciting.
What was the food of choice in the service station?
That's what I wanted to know.
I was trying to hide, not go into the food counter.
Well, Karen, that's what it's all about, isn't it? For the fans that are watching, you're just so excited to hear about these last-minute deals that might happen. And who knows, there might be players sitting up and down the country right now in service stations like Michael was.
I know, as a fan, you're like, there's so many curveballs. You don't expect that move, and there's also someone relying on somebody else to move, and it's kind of like a jigsaw trying to fit everyone in together and make it happen. But I love those little stories. What was you doing? Where was you? How was you feeling? That's what it's all about.
Exactly. And already today on deadline day, we have seen quite a few deals get over the line, including the biggest deal of this summer window so far, which is Antony, the striker, signing from Ajax to Manchester United for a huge £82 million. And also, of course, Leicester in action tonight against Manchester United have made their first outfield signing of the summer window as well, bringing in Wout Vaas from Reims for £17 million. A whole host of new signings coming to the Premier League there. But how exciting is that signing of Antony for Manchester United?
It is. I think it's generally been seen that Manchester United need more attacking options. Certain players that are playing at the moment are showing an upturn in form have either been surplus to requirements, Martial, for example, or chronically out of form for not just a short period of time, but years, Marcus Rashford. You have to fear for Cristiano Ronaldo, a player that's never been out of form, but doesn't seem to be getting much of a look in at the moment. So I think another option up front in attacking areas was always what they were looking for. And Ten Hag knows this player, knows him really well, and you always have confidence when a manager has managed someone before. You always think, well, he knows him better than any of us, and if he's decided to pay that kind of money, which is a lot of money, then but watch this space.
Wout Vaas for Leicester as well, Karen. I think for Leicester City fans, will they just be happy that a replacement has been brought in for Fofana? No one really knows too much about this player.
No, but I mean, he's not the first player to come from the French league and kind of seamlessly fit into the Premier League and do really well. I think it's been forced with their hand. I know they've got, a good fee for Fofana, but a lot of it's actually gone on the sell-on fee. So the recruitment has actually been... They probably had to force their hand to have this player coming in at the price as well. But they put him on a 5-year deal. They do develop the players. They do like to sell them on. But it is a direct replacement for Fofana.
Yeah. Well, let's just remind everyone of the team news for kickoff tonight, which is in less than an hour away now at the King Power Stadium. We'll start with the visitors, Manchester United, who are unchanged. And it's no surprise, really, is it, Michael? Because they've won back-to-back games now in the Premier League. It does therefore mean that Casemiro and Ronaldo are on the bench again. What do you make of that? Is it a good sign that Ronaldo's there on the bench because it means he's unlikely to move away?
I think so, yeah. Well, if you're a Manchester United fan, then I'm sure you're very pleased that the rumours seem to have died down. But he won't be happy. He needs to get back into this team, of course. The one surprise, I suppose, as you rightly say, Jules, there was not a surprise that there weren't any changes. But the one surprise, or the one question mark, was whether they were going to put Casemiro back into the team. He's resisted that temptation. I can't imagine he's going to resist it for long. You don't pay 70-odd million for a player of his age and think, well, I'm going to wait for next season or the season after. I mean, he's a here and now type of player. So he, at some point, will come in. But while they're on a good run, then, it's very difficult to change that winning side.
Who does he eventually come in for in that Manchester United team then, and what difference will he make?
I'd probably put him in with McTominay, really. Probably like for like in there. But he just comes out, he blocks, he protects the back four really, really well. But for me, you don't change a winning side, and that the last 2 games have showed consistency. They're starting to build their relationships. He's only had 10 minutes. You know, he hasn't really played that much, probably in pre-season as well, so I wouldn't have put him in, but they do have Arsenal next, which is where he might feature more in that game.
Well, Leicester have made 3 changes. They're yet to win in the Premier League this season, and we saw a moment ago they're bottom of the table, and Brendan Rodgers makes 3 changes from that Chelsea defeat. Maddison is fit, he comes back into the side, and Didi and Thomas are also in for Amati, who's out of the squad. Timothy Castagna drops to the bench, and Dennis Pratt also on the bench as well. Interestingly, Tielemans keeps his place in the starting 11 there, Michael. That's a good sign for Leicester, because he's another player, one of many from this Leicester side, that's been linked with moves away.
Yes, exactly. I'm pretty surprised that he's still there, if I'm honest. He's obviously letting his contract run down. He will be of interest to a lot of different teams. I know the likes of Liverpool have really needed a midfielder over recent weeks, and I just wondered whether they might have made a last-ditch attempt to sign him. Now, I was thinking, if they hadn't tried anyway, they probably aren't really hot on him. But as they needed a midfielder, then I thought he could be a perfect replacement for a lot of the injured players and the ageing players that midfield at Liverpool contains. So I'm surprised he's still there, and obviously he's going to be there for a while longer. But the longer he's there, the more strength he gains in his position, unless he gets injured or suffers a lack of form. And of course, he would be there on a free at the end of the season unless he signs in the meantime, which, as I say, will put him in a strong position financially for himself. But then he'll need these big teams to come in, and so far nobody's really come in and broke the bank for him.
OK, well, Leicester are still looking for their first victory of the season. Let's get the pre-match thoughts of Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan, what do you need from this Leicester performances? What do you need to change to get the first win of the season?
Well, I think what's key for us from now going forward is that that we play as a team, and virtually after tonight, that's the common goal for the rest of the season. Now, it's obviously been a challenging period, but now we're very focused on performing well, and this is a great game to play to look to get the first win.
Yeah, how difficult has it been to prepare with all the speculation and the departures? I mean, it's very unsettling for everybody.
It has been. I've got to say, in my career as a coach, it's been the most. However, it's part of the game, and we have to deal with that. So, but like I say, I think after the window shuts this evening, and for us for the game, it's really about getting focused and playing as a team. And actually, and the games that we've played so far, and a number of them, Des, we've actually played well, but not consistently throughout the game. So tonight, if we can get a consistent performance, play to the levels that we have done in a few of the games, then we'll have a great chance of getting a result.
Three changes: Maddison and DD, Luke Thomas. Talk us through those. All pretty good news for you.
Yeah, we firstly from a defensive perspective, it was just rejigging the back line. Daniel Marty was ill, so he's not involved. But using Wilf's pace, he can play there, and he's very strong. We've conceded 10 goals in 4 games. That's the reality. So it's looking into the defensive structure and to see if we can defend better with that back four and as a team. James coming in's been our most efficient player, so it's naturally he's back from injury, so it's great news for us. So and you mentioned one other.
Luke Thomas as well.
Luke Thomas, yeah. Well, look, obviously, is part of the defence. So, and he's never let us down. He's a fantastic defender, and he can back up the game with the 2 guys on that side.
Well, he'll be looking for a reaction from the team that he started tonight at the King Power Stadium. And if you can't get up for a game like Manchester United at home, I'm not sure what the players can, Karen. Brendan Rodgers will just be happy when this deadline window closes, won't he? Because so many of the players have been linked with moves away. But how worried are you for Leicester because of their start to the season and the fact they're the lowest spenders in this summer window?
I mean, it's unsettling for them because the window is open. Obviously, as you said, people want their players. I'm not overly concerned. I think once that window goes and they start to settle, I mean, they've got a strong 11. They really do. And I know they've had a few injuries and stuff. But once they get consistency, I don't fear for them drastically. Yes, they haven't spent in this window, but it's not like they haven't in previous windows. It's whether they've wasted that money. I know they haven't had person who's in charge of recruitment for the last 4 months. That's really impacted it. But look, the table is a worry at this moment, but I don't foresee them being there as the season progresses.
As Karen says, Michael, they do have a strong starting 11. So why are they bottom? What's gone so wrong at the start of the campaign?
They've tended to get a lot of injuries to defensive players at the start of most seasons, which has been really unfortunate for them. I'm not so sure that they haven't lost a lot of their best players in recent years. And yeah, they're a decent team. They're a team that probably should be staying, well, they should be staying in the Premier League, but I don't any longer see them as a top half team. And it's one of the first years I've actually looked at the Premier League beforehand and thought, right, who's the top 6, who's the top 8, and not even considered Leicester. And that, it used to be, Leicester going to get in the Champions League. They won the league, and then all of a sudden they were in the Champions League and always fighting for European football. But now, I think they've dropped off a lot. You're right, they have got a decent starting 11, and if they can keep that starting 11 fit, then I see it as definitely a team that can stay in the Premier League. But if they get injuries, I don't think they're all that. And I think they're not, they feel like a club that's going the wrong way at the moment. I look at Brendan Rodgers there, and he doesn't seem to be the manager that's got all that enthusiasm, that, you know, that desire that he did have. It feels like losing all my best players. What can I do here? And I wouldn't be too happy if I was a Leicester fan at the moment.
I think you're right with Rodgers. I see frustrations, but the club, obviously, their business has been in duty-free, so it has been hit. And they have invested in the training ground. They're going to invest in the stadium, and they have invested, but they've gone a different route. But as a manager, that obviously impacts you, Brendan Rodgers, because you're losing your best players. Your best players are being linked, and you're not bringing anyone in. But their strategy is clearly changing. As a manager, that's really frustrating because that does impact you. But they're looking at it clearly as a business model and going, we're changing this up, because to go top 8 or the model that we used to have or where we were punching, they can't match that. And I think that's where he's frustrated, because he's at a club now where they were good, the old guard has gone, the new guard's changing, and he's like, what do I do here, and where does he go?
Yeah, the best players seem to always get sold for Leicester at the moment. That wasn't really the case. When they were winning things, of course, when they were up there, then Arsenal came in for Vardy. He didn't go. They could, you know, fend people off, but I don't think they can anymore. Every time someone comes in for one of their players are kicking off, wanted, forcing these moves through. Fofana's the latest. Mm. Now, they're doing well in terms of they're making a lot of money. You know, you think of Harry Maguire going back a year or two. I mean, 80-something million. And now Fofana, similar money. It's big, big money that they're making. But if they're investing it elsewhere for the structure of the club, great. But if I was Brendan Rodgers, I was thinking, a new training ground, a new stadium isn't going to get me any more points. And my head's on the block at the moment. So, you know, it's interesting times for them, but they're certainly not as good a team as they were.
Well, there's no doubt about how valuable he has been to this Leicester City side in recent years. But as a striker, Michael, when you start the campaign, 4 matches in, no goals yet, but also just the 1 shot on target, how hungry will he be to get on the score sheet tonight?
Well, yeah, you start the season hungry and ready, and then you don't want to get to 4, 5, 6 games in and start getting desperate to score. And he'll start to be approaching that stage now. He's been used to winning golden boots, being right up there with the best centre-forwards in the Premier League. Now he's looking at players like Haaland that have scored 9 goals already this season, and he hasn't got off the mark yet. He's probably not getting the chances that most other strikers are getting either. So we all know he's getting into the twilight of his career. We all know that he's probably not the force that he was. He's still got pace. When he's fit, he's still a threat. But that mindset doesn't change. That's the problem. Your body might start slowing down a little bit and whatever, and your expectation of yourself might slow down slightly, but your mindset, it doesn't change, and it starts getting quite painful mentally when you see all other strikers scoring goals and you're still yet to get off the mark. That's when you start snatching at chances, and that's when things start spiralling out of control. So he'll keep calm, I'm sure. He's an experienced centre-forward. But we have probably seen the best of Jamie Vardy, and it's now how long he can last at that top level. And is that a concern for Leicester then, Karen, if Michael's saying we've seen the best of Jamie Vardy already?
Well, I think we've probably known for a few years they needed to have a replacement in their mind for quite a while. But I think for tonight, he'll be happy that Maddison's back in to try and give him some creativity and try and get him in behind and give him those opportunities that he's probably been starved of. But they've known for years they need to replace him, and it's probably quite soon.
OK. Well, Ian Irving is live at the King Power Stadium tonight for Leicester against Manchester United. And Ian joins us now. Good to see you, Ian. We saw that you had a lovely sit-down chat with Jamie Vardy earlier this week. What's he like as a character to talk to?
I wouldn't have said he's the most comfortable interviewee, if I can say that. He's quite humble, really, for a guy who's scored 133 Premier League goals and been a Golden Boot winner, a Premier League title winner. He's fairly unassuming, to be fair. Just a normal lad is how I'd probably describe him. But it's interesting that Michael used the word calm, because it's exactly the way that Jamie was during that interview when speaking about what's been a difficult start to the season for Leicester. All the noise, as Brendan Rodgers describes it in his programme notes, around the fact that they'd not signed anyone in this summer transfer window until today on deadline day, and also the fact that they'd not won yet in the Premier League. Vardy not scored yet, but he seemed very calm about it, very settled here at Leicester, as you heard him say as well, and he's leading this team as well. There's no doubt about that. You speak to people around this club and they say just how important his experience and his personality is to this group as well.
Well, also we can see that just behind you, Ian, the Manchester United players have been warming up. Ronaldo, I imagine, is out there. He starts on the bench for Erik ten Hag's side tonight. You've been following this story all summer for us for the Premier League, whether or not he's going to make a move away from the club, and that looked as though it was something that his agent was trying to make happen. Does he look happy out there today?
It's quite a bench, isn't it, Jules, to be fair? You've got Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got the new signing Casemiro as well, who many expected to start this match. Donny van de Beek, club captain Harry Maguire as well. It's a very expensive bench. Ronaldo looks happy enough, yeah. You can see him there joking along with Casemiro. I think he just lost the ball maybe in the middle of the rondo. But yeah, like you say, I think there's been a lot of speculation about him all summer long. In some ways, I think he would have liked to have moved away from Manchester United and had something sorted nice and early, but it's rumbled on. And obviously, as time has passed, it seemed more and more unlikely that he would leave United and that he'd remain here. For what it's worth, the club have been absolutely steadfast, saying that he's not for sale. They've publicly stated that they've not entertained any interest in one of their star players, Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, it's only a year today since he arrived back in Manchester to that incredible fanfare at Old Trafford, beating Manchester City supposedly to his signature as well. But of course, with time ticking away and him in action here, or at least on the bench here for Manchester United tonight, it looks likely that he'll stay, and it's going to be a challenge, I think it's fair to say, for Erik ten Hag to manage that throughout this Premier League season.
Ian, top stuff. Thank you very much. We'll catch up with you a little bit later. It's interesting, isn't it, Michael? But with the two teams in action tonight, it's probably likely that neither club will do any more business today.
Yeah, I'd say that's...
Erik, are we seeing the work that you're doing to begin to pay off in intensity and results? And do you want to continue that process, obviously?
Yeah, first, it's about always the process. The process has to be good. So good organization. And when you're talking about possession, you need dynamic, you need intensity. When you talk about out of possession, you need pressing, so you need intensity.
You've named the same starting lineup. Is that your system bedding down, or is it a reward for the results?
Both not. You want to get in routines, automatism. They did well, 11. So we keep going, but we have a lot of games to cover, so other players will come in.
Did you think about rotation? Did you have one eye on the Arsenal game at the weekend and the people at Casemiro on the bench?
Not in this moment. First game is the most important, so this game.
Leicester is stuck at the bottom of the table. Is that a measure of where they are? Is that a fair reflection of the club?
No, definitely not. I've seen, I like them. The way of play, their style, they want to play football, they have a lot of speed in front, so just 4 games tells nothing.
Best of luck tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.